Mating is what makes life possible, but it can also make life extremely dangerous. First things first, the male and the female must meet, but getting close can be risky. So the male is right to be cautious. He's in two minds. One says, no, keep your distance. Females can be unpredictable, even violent. But the other says, yes, get in close. Just feel how attractive she is. With this game, though, to take part, you have to put yourself on the line. And mating may be the last thing you ever do, unless you quit while you're ahead. In the mating game, you don't get points for just turning up. To catch a female's eye, you've got to be out there, showing what you can do. Unbelievable. It's crucial to make sure the focus is on you. Looking the part helps, but you still need to come up with the goods. Strutting your stuff can be a risky business. To stand out from the pack, each male must try and take it to the limit. Without falling over the edge. Wherever you may do it, drawing attention to yourself in order to attract a mate can be dangerous. In Australia, the male satin bowerbird uses beautiful objects to find his way to a female's heart. Round these parts, blue is the colour of love. The feathers and flowers set off his own plumage very nicely, but he also lays them artfully around the bower he has built. It's not a nest. It's strictly for adult romance, and he wants it flashy enough to make any passing female stop and stare. All these preparations make the male highly conspicuous, which has become a problem since humans encroached on the forests and introduced new dangers. The feral cat didn't exist here during the thousands of years it took for male bowerbirds to evolve their seductive strategies. But now they do, and they hunt by day and on the ground. The female is impressed. She might even let him mate. Just one more bunch of feathers should swing it. So near, but yet so far. Another male pays the ultimate price for taking part in the mating game. In Borneo, in the mangrove swamps, the males are at it again. busy trying to outperform their rivals and be the most attractive to the opposite sex. For the mud skippers, what matters is land. The male with the best real estate will be the male who gets the most females. Predators like the mangrove snake depend on the fact that any male mud skipper that wants to breed must be visible and up on the surface. If he's going to hold on to his territory, every male must be prepared to fight off challengers. The problem is how to put everything into the contest and keep an eye out for danger. This time, though, the mud skipper's all-round vision saves the day and prevents 2 more casualties in the deadly mating game. In the rainforest in Belize, every male tree frog has to live with a dilemma. To attract females, he must make sure his call gets heard, but it could catch the attention of a hungry predator, like this vine snake. The safe option is to sound off in a group, even if it means being part of the crowd. Calling on your own is the high-risk strategy. The rewards are greater, but so are the costs of getting it wrong. And getting it wrong in the mating game means 1 more dead male. The urge to mate is also behind one of the loudest nighttime calls of them all. It belongs to the flying loudspeaker, a male hammerhead bat. Everything about the shape of the male's head and nose is geared to produce the extraordinary honking sound needed to attract females. The females get plenty of opportunity to eye up possible mates. At breeding time, up to 150 males will stretch out over a mile-long length of forest and set up a vocal talent parade. Female bats are drawn by the noise, but it can attract predators like the genet too. If a male senses that a female is interested, he'll mount a charm offensive. First, by upping the honking rate. Then, by using his wings to waft alluring body odors towards her. The more noise you make, though, the more quickly a predator is going to find you. Once the genet has worked its way back to the source, the bat must choose between attracting more females and staying alive.
And now the finalists. In this year's all-comers male display are, from Australia, the jumping spider. Lots of technique. And a lovely finish. From North America, the sharp-tailed grouse. Very poised, very controlled. Representing the Atlantic, it's the blenny, a first-time finalist, and I'm afraid it shows. And India's peacock, dazzling, but we've seen it all before. And finally, this year's hot favorite, from the same stable as the sharp-tailed grouse, North America's very own sage grouse, a stunning all-rounder. And just look at that for a finale. Yes, there it is, the sage grouse has done it. Bolus means attraction. Bolus is dangerously seductive. Bolus is more than just a perfume. Bolus smells just like a female moth. Bolus is irresistible. Bolus, male moths just can't help acting on it.
In the deadly mating game, the harsh fact is, you're on your own. It's not just predators, but members of your own species that want to knock you out of the running. If you want to stay in the game, you've got to use everything you've got. Weight, footwork, power, timing. And even if you put it all together, and you come out on top, who's to say that the winner won't be too exhausted to see off the next challenger that comes along? When the mating game works the males into a frenzy of violence, nothing is sacred. In a war zone, it's not just the challengers that get hurt. Innocent bystanders get caught up in the crossfire. Mothers can be injured, and infants crushed to death. To us, the tail of the Siamese fighting fish is elegant, flowing, delicately attractive. But to another male, it's like a red rag to a bull. The more beautiful one male's display is, the harder other males are going to try to damage or even kill him. In this arena, there can only be one star. The fight will decide who will perform for the females in this stretch of water. In the deadly mating game, there's no such thing as second place. Competition doesn't have to be fast or flashy. These ploughshare tortoises may be slow, but they are very strong. Once another male is spotted, it's full speed ahead to get to grips and sort out just who is where in the pecking order. Contests for these tortoises can be lengthy affairs. There are two main goals. Either try and get your ploughshare into a nook in your opponent's armour to flip him over, or keep going round and round to avoid being flipped. Although there are only a few hundred ploughshare tortoises left in the wild, that doesn't stop the males fighting. And if one tortoise does get flipped over, it can be serious. If it can't right itself, that could be one less out of a dwindling pool of ploughshare males. An honourable draw would be in everyone's interests. But since a female won't even look at a male until he's dealt with the competition, fights can go on and on and on.
Champion against former champion then, and they're getting straight down to it. In tonight's title bout, it's Mueller's awesome right, pitched against Hamid's lightning left. Power versus poetry. Master Blaster takes on the comeback kid. And straight away, both men are finding openings. Hamid misses with the left, and Mueller stepping in with a jab right. Oh, I felt that one. Mueller knocked back a bit by Hamid there. There's Mueller's left hand going in. He's probing the other man. And he's down! Hamid's on the floor. And it was Mueller's right that did the damage. What a sensation! And Mueller's trying to finish it right here. And Hamid looks in terrible trouble. What can he pull out of the bag now? He's got to try and hang in there and not take any more of those big hits to the head. The champion's taking his time. He's moving the other man around, making him do the work.
again with the right. It looks like he connected. Bender now to me. He's coming back with everything he's got. Mueller's covering up at the knee and is just raining punches down on it. What a fight this is turning out to be. Hamid's putting the pressure on now, jabbing to keep Mueller on his back foot. You can see the frustration building up for the champion. He's hurting, but his rights aren't even coming close. But just look at that. He steps up the ropes, drops his head, and Hamid definitely felt that. This is turning into some contest. They both had real chances, but it's still even Stevens. Nothing to choose between them. And there's the bell to end a sensational first round. And the second's underway now. Mueller's corner a bit slow out of the ring. Could this mean that the title holder's starting to crack? It's been a blistering first round, but these two are showing no signs of slowing down. Each fighter's looking for a way in now, but it's getting a bit messy in the coaches. And now it's Hamid that's getting through. He's really starting to ask questions, and the other man's got nothing left to give. And Mueller's really taking some punishment here. The crowd are going crazy. Hamid's trying to get in there to finish him off. And Mueller's gone. The champion's down, and it looks like he's staying down. What a fight. The count is 8, 9, and out.
But if the spoils of victory are great, the price of failure can be devastating. If you're a male that can't fight, you are history. Without a part to play in the mating game, what is the point of it all? The dangers of the mating game don't necessarily stop when you've beaten off a few competitors. The mating process itself brings with it a whole lot of new dangers. And it's just as well to remember, too much sex can be bad for your health. With the start of the breeding season, the male Antechinus, a marsupial mouse, finds that the urge to mate literally takes over his whole life. His body becomes flooded with testosterone, and the Antechinus can only think about one thing: females. Once the male gets started, he can't stop. The mouse's testes have swollen to make up 1/4 of his total body weight, and they are pumping more and more testosterone into his bloodstream. This female may be exhausted, but the male's urge to mate has hardly even been dented. With the hormones flooding through his veins, the male is unstoppable. He has to find more females. And quickly. Male fogstand beetles in the Namib Desert use a rough-and-ready approach to finding a mate. If they can smell a female nearby, and they come across something black, then it's worth having a go. In the general mayhem, being on board something is probably better than nothing. But if there are two males between you and the female, your chances of breeding are pretty slim. Having a female all to yourself is a much better bet, but it's still important to keep an eye out. However exciting wooing a female without interruptions might be, forgetting everything else is a big mistake. Romance is in the air for the western diamondback rattlesnake. But he must go carefully. The lady he's looking for can be a femme fatale. The approach has to be smooth and slow. He will woo her little by little. Caressing all of her, scale by perfect scale. Always aware of a change in mood, always knowing that the line between pleasure and pain can be easily crossed. Finding the right moves to bring her back and coax her towards the crescendo. With Israel's Lierus scorpion, the male must keep the female right on track if he is going to mate and stay alive. Every time she moves, he moves. It's the only way to keep her in front of him and stay out of reach of her lethal sting. Mating is done by remote control. The male puts down a packet of sperm, but then he must maneuver the female so that she is directly above it. If she's a few millimeters out, it's no good, and he can't let go of her until he's got it right. A bit more fine-tuning, and she's exactly over the target. Then, while she takes up the sperm, he can make his escape. This enormous female red-backed spider is compellingly attractive to her tiny mate. Although she's 10 times his size, he is drawn towards her. To cross her web, he must send the right vibrations. Otherwise, he's in immediate danger of being mistaken for prey and eaten. Within reach of the temptress at last, he can now extend his specially adapted front legs. They're charged with sperm, but once he inserts them, they lock into place and he cannot escape. It's no consolation to the male, but at least, while he is being eaten, he can continue to fill her with his sperm, and the energy he provides will help to produce the eggs. In the deadly mating game, the urge to breed is so strong that, given the choice of mating successfully and dying, and failing to mate and living, many males choose death. The male square-marked toad is programmed to hold on to the female come what may. Most attacks will come from other male toads. Unfortunately for him, this one is a bit more serious. Some males are born ready to pursue even the smallest chance of mating. As soon as male centris bees hatch, they start to hunt for the scent of the females emerging from under the ground. Digging the female out is the easy part. Now the rush is really on. She will only breed with the first male to successfully mate with her. But until the males can tell that one of them has mated, it could still be them. So they are still desperate to get in on the action. Each female that reaches the surface spurs the males into another mating frenzy. The urge to get to the female overrides everything else. Wings and antennae get trampled, and by the time all the females are out, many of the males will have pushed themselves beyond the limits of what their bodies can stand. For some liaisons, everything comes down to communication. Approaching a female tarantula without making contact first would be fatal. Even then, what you say has to be just right. She's got to be sure that you've got what it takes, and that you're her sort of guy. Only then is it advisable to take the next step. can safely take part in the mating game. For the Antechinus, time is finally up. He's played his part. Ironically, it's the very source of his sexual energy that is finally his undoing. The surging hormones have fatally weakened his body's immune system. Within a few days of the end of the breeding season, he, and every other male Antechinus, are dead from disease or infection. Mating is part of a whole unstoppable process. The game is to pass on your own genes. To get a high score, you've got to be ready for the challenges. Too slow off the mark, and it's game over for any of these sockeye salmon. Even if they survive the bald eagles, they've still got to get past the brown bears to get to the next level. Level 3 is the breeding ground. The game ends where it began. This is where the sockeye salmon were born. They've used up all their energy, and with the spawning done, all the males and all the females die. Each year, a drop in water temperature and a shift in the moon's cycle are the trigger for an event that brings millions of squid together for the last time. For the squid, too, it is the mating game that drives their life cycle to its climax. The vast shoal is the momentary meeting place for adult squid and the next lot of young. Males cling to the females to pass across their sperm and begin the transfer of life. Predators start to gather in anticipation of the feast. The female squid must hurry to complete the cycle and get their eggs out onto the sea floor. A few latecomers make the final moves. And then it's over. Life has passed across, and the lifeless husks that were the adults wave in the current alongside the living banks of eggs. For the next generation, a fresh contest is about to begin, amid the debris of the previous one. one of the world's oldest forms of life, the horseshoe crab normally lives out of sight, down in the ocean depths. But over 3 days, when the moon is right and the tide is high, hundreds of thousands of them make the journey up to the shore to breed. With their strange looks, they are more at home on the sea floor. But these crabs have been coming onto the beaches of America's North Atlantic coast for hundreds of millions of years, from the time when there were no predators here and the shoreline was the safest place to lay eggs. Each female has her entourage of smaller males. They're all clinging on, waiting for the chance to release their sperm when the female half buries her eggs in the sand at the water's edge. The thick ribbon of eggs, above and below the surface, is intended for the next high tide, when the sea will come again and stir up the sand, releasing the crab larvae. The seashore is no longer the safe, empty place it was. Some gulls can gorge themselves on as many as 9,000 eggs a day, and flocks time their migrations to hit the beaches at spawning time. The beach is strewn with casualties. Many of the adult crabs have died, overturned by the waves and unable to right themselves. But sheer numbers guarantee that enough eggs will make it, ready in time to take their turn in the mating game. The urge to ensure that mating will be successful makes some creatures play for very high stakes. On a March night when the moon is full, the beaches of Southern California are the place where fish throw themselves out of the sea in order to mate. The fish are grunions, and like the horseshoe crabs, they prefer to lay and fertilize their eggs on shore at high tide. The females try and bury themselves in the sand to lay their eggs, while the males curve round them, depositing their sperm. For males and females, it's a gamble. The sand at the water's edge is where they've chosen to breed, but if they are out of the water for any length of time, they will die of suffocation. The fish want their eggs to stay buried until the next high tide, so they try to spawn as far up the beach as possible. It's good for the eggs' chances, but for the adults it means risking everything. Once the tide has turned, the chances of getting in and out get slimmer and slimmer for each new lot of arrivals. Every year, millions of grunion come ashore, and every year, only the lucky few make it back again. A baby's hunger can be hard to satisfy. The mother is fattening herself up. Soon it will be time for the children to eat. She must be ready. Ready to be eaten. Baby Amarobius spiders look to mother to provide their first nourishment. The hatchlings will digest their own parent, using her to fuel the next stage of life. The mother spider must be prepared to give every part of herself for the children's sake. It's gruesome, but it's necessary if the young are to have their chance in the deadly mating game. Wherever you look, the consequences of mating are evident. And so are the potential costs. Predators gather when it's time for the wildebeest to give birth. During and immediately after the birth are when the calf and the mother are most at risk. The calf is up and moving. But predators like these African wild dogs are looking for the scent of newborns. They know that very young calves cannot run with the herd. The wild dogs are no threat to a fit female within the herd, but when she cannot leave her calf, it's a different matter. The instinct to try and save her offspring is as basic as that which created it in the first place. The mating game may produce life in abundance, but every stage can mean death for the participants. Some will die just looking for a mate. Some will die fighting for a mate. And some will die in order to mate. But without the game, there is nothing. So, whatever the risks, each animal must play its part.